Hey guys, I haven't forgotten. I know I'm a little bit delayed on this video. I'm going to do a review of Section A of the PCT, places where you can stay. And I was going to do a separate video about, if you hear the music in the background, that's my stepson playing his metal guitar. He's a really good guitar player, but it's like, oh no, it's Megadeth again. But anyways, I'm also going to do a little review of places where you can resupply to. I was thinking about a separate video, but I'm like, why? I mean, let's just put it all in one video. It's only Section A. It shouldn't be that long. Famous last words. Okay, so I almost forgot it's the weekend and I forgot to do this earlier. So what I wanted to do was talk to you about Section A and the camping choices, and maybe I'll talk about food choices too. Because I only completed Section A, that's the only section of the Pacific Crest Trail I can talk about when it comes to that. And I printed out an old map, or a new map, half miles map, just to refresh my memory about where I stayed, etc., etc. Now, typically, what a lot of people do is they will stay. Will stay at like Scout and Frodo's the day before they start the trail. Scout and Frodo's is a trail angel, a husband and wife team that has hosted hikers for many years. They live in San Diego. They provide rides to Campo. They feed you. They do a lot of things, but unfortunately, after the year 2020, they're not doing it anymore. They're retiring. So the last year to do it is next year, basically, with Scout and Frodo. However, I'm hoping they keep their website up, because they have a page on their website that talks about where you can go, how you can get transportation to Campo from San Diego. They talk about how you could stay in El Cajon and get there relatively easily. I stayed with Scout and Frodo. I could, in a pinch, because I live in Southern California, drive to the border, a little bit over 3 hours, I think, but I wanted to stay at Scout and Frodo's and experience them. So hopefully they keep that page up so you can refer to that in the future. This is specifically for, hey, look, we got a co-star. Specifically for next year's class or anyone who's going pretty soon. I will also I'll put their website down below. Maybe I'll even put it right here next to PIP so you can follow that too. Oh, I'm actually watching some videos. This is the Liverpool hikers. I'm giving them a watch. This is day 50, and I think they have like several videos out in addition to this that I haven't seen, so I'm working. It's close to dinner time for them, so they're being very clingy. But anyway, so I was at Scout and Frodo's. I got a ride to Campo at the border and started from there. Now, one thing I do want to say is there are a lot of unmarked camp spots along the trail that are not on half-mile maps, that are not even in gut hooks. Those are the ones that are more well established, but they're still there's stealth campsites you can find, but there's some pretty good established ones too. So if you're freaking out because you can't find something, as long as you can tell you're not on the ridge line, you're probably going to find some spots that might be workable for a campsite. Like day one, I ended up camping at mile 8.8. It's by a pipe gate, had this really nice flat area, probably had room for like 2 or 3 tents actually, but I was the only one there. It was a beautiful campsite too. Day 2, I went down to where Hauser Creek is. Now, my plan was to actually make Lake Marina by day 2, but that was not going to happen, as it was too hot of a day. So I camped down in Hauser, down here. Typically, it's a nice shady area to camp too. Lots and lots of campsites. Typically, in a typical year, that creek is dry, so do not count on water. You'll actually see that written on the maps or written in gut hooks a lot of the times it's dry. This year it was not, because we had so much rain. It was a really nice flowing creek. So perfect camping area because we had water nearby too. There's a climb after that, and then there's Lake Marina. Lake Marina has a very large campground, and they have an area designated for the PCT hikers. not sure on the cost. I want to say it's $25 a spot, but or is it $5 a head? I didn't stay there, so I'm not 100% positive. You can drop money, and there's a box close to where you would camp, or you can walk down to the ranger station and pay for it that way too. They have showers there, and they have bathrooms, of course. They also rent cabins there, and I believe that's $50 each. There's no running water in the cabins, though. It's just a roof over your head, and there's no bedding. There's just a slat that you would put your sleeping bag and down, your sleeping pad out on, which I think $50 in my opinion is a little bit steep for that. But you know, if you're cold, you're going to go for that. And they do have a little fireplace in there. It was halfway decent weather, I want to say, when I went through, but I don't know why I got into my head. I think because I had a couple of friends that vlog who stayed in an Airbnb in Lake Marina before they started the trail, and I didn't know there was any Airbnb hosts there. So I actually had like 1 or 2 bars of service down in Hauser Creek, and I'm like, I'm gonna see. Had a little bit of insomnia like usual, and I looked it up and I saw a house that was renting rooms for, I think the 3 regular rooms were $50 each, the same as the cabin. The master bedroom would have been $80, but comes with a regular bathroom. You can do laundry because they have laundry detergent and they have a laundry room, and you have a house to stay in. So if you have multiple hikers, you could totally. I mean, I think they have it capped at 2 per room, but I'm like, you know, it's the same as the cabin. I'm going to rent that and wash and do laundry and relax a little bit. It's not too far from the malt shop either. I'd say maybe a quarter of a mile hike-ish, something like that. And I rented it, and successfully. It was kind of last minute, but they approved me. And I thought for sure there'd be other hikers there. I had the entire house to myself. It was so awesome. It was just amazing. So yeah, that's another option. Airbnb isn't probably an option all the way up and down the trail in some areas. You just have to look and see. The problem is it has to be right in town or really close to the trail, and it worked out perfectly for Lake Marina for me. So think about that. You know, yes, you can go to your traditional campgrounds. You could get a hotel if there's any around. There's not in Lake Marina. Or you can Airbnb. There's a cat having to fit out there. You just have to do it within your budget. I noticed I was glamping as much as possible, so I may have run short of cash after a certain point. So if you are tight on cash, do stealth camping or camp in cheap campgrounds. That's the best way to do it. And occasionally treat yourself to either a hotel stay or an Airbnb, or maybe there'll be a trail angel just hosting people. I know, of many along the trail. Wrightwood's really good about having different trail angels do it. You've got Hiker Heaven later on, Casa de Luna later on. These are not in Section A, these are just further on up the trail. So that's your options for Lake Marina. Kuga is wailing out there. Would you keep your brother quiet, please? You tell him to cool it? He doesn't care. But resupply. I'm going to do that towards the end of the video, so before I get too distracted. As for where you can eat in town, there's only one place in Lake Marina. It's basically the malt shop. It's also a resupply point, which I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But yeah, they have a great grill there. Fantastic burgers. I'm sorry, I'm boring him apparently. Hopefully I'm not boring everybody. Yeah, the eats at the malt shop are fantastic. Fantastic. Don't skip it. Even if you're not stopping in town and you're hiking on, totally stop there and eat. It's just awesome. North of Lake Marina, there's a lot of unmarked campsites all the way up through Boulder Oaks. And Boulder Oaks is a really cool campground. I believe it's like 6 miles past, it's 6 miles past, looking down, of Lake Marina. It has a spigot, so you've got water you can get it from, and it's got a couple of pit toilets that are pretty clean, surprisingly. No shower, that's the only downside. It also has horse corrals, so if you're an equestrian with the trail, it's a really good place to stop too. Where I ended up staying out at the day after Lake Marina was Fred Canyon. Fred Canyon is about mile 32, I believe, yeah. And it had, when I was there, again, it had this really nice strong stream running through it. From what I can read on the map, and what Gut Hooks usually says, that is also generally dry. I wasn't this year, but that has a ton of camping spots. We had like over 20 people camping there that night. And it's unfortunate because it's hard to sleep when there's that many people packed around because there's noise and things that keep you up. I did not sleep well that night. And it really affected my hike the next day. I should have made it to Warner Springs, not Warner Springs, Mount Laguna the next day. But I was just so dead because I had like a couple hours of sleep. But if you're not in a bubble, that is a perfect spot to stop. It's shaded, even if it doesn't have any water. It's a nice shaded spot for camping. Then later that day, since I didn't make Mount Laguna, I ended up stopping. I'm looking at the map. It's not on the map. That's the thing. I basically there's on the way to Mount Laguna, you can't camp like a couple miles south of there because it's some sort of preserve. And by the way, the climb in Mount Laguna is no joke. You think Hauser's bad, it just seemed more miserable. I don't know why. Yes, we know. Sweet. I camped at a campground that is a camping spot that was not on Gut Hooks, not on Half Mile. Somebody had made a comment on Gut Hooks on a campsite about a mile up, saying, hey, there's better campsites a mile back on both sides. Go check that out. It's a dry camp, there's no stream, but there's loads of campsites there, and they're perfectly flat, and they're surrounded by manzanitas or chaparral or a couple of trees, so you've got wind block. There's a mountain meadow really close by too. It's just a really nice site. And then the next day I got into Mount Laguna. You could stay at the lodge that's close to the store. It's attached to the store too, I believe. I did not stay there. I didn't even try to make a reservation there. I was thinking about it, but they also have the Burnt Rancheria campground. I believe that's what it's called, yeah. And they have like nice hiking spots there. They've got, I don't believe there's a shower. I saw restrooms, clean restrooms. I've never been so happy to see a restroom. It was one of those, I'm unfortunately, when you're hiking, long distance through hiking, and you know you're coming up on a restroom, you're like, wait, telling your body to wait, even if you can't wait, but because it's amazing what you start to miss in civilized life. And it's something as easy as a flush toilet in that case. Like, wow, you're like, the restroom is like the golden land. You're like, yes. So the campground's excellent there. I went to there's a Pine Tavern Cafe, which has limited hours. You have to make sure that it's open. And if in our case, when a bunch of us got there, the chef was sick, so it opened like a couple hours late. We were all like laying out in this grassy area to the side waiting because we were all starving, and we know they're gonna open. We're just waiting. Further down the road, you have to road walk it to the Resupply store, which I'll talk more about later. But the lodge is there also. That's another option. Now behind the tavern, they have, it used to be an RV park or a trailer park, and they're in the midst of converting it to a tiny home park. It's like an idea of whoever owns it. And they have a few done already. And I rented one through an Airbnb. That one I probably could have skipped. I probably should have either tried the lodge or just stayed in the campground. I wasn't too impressed. But it's still, I remember it was a really cold night, so in hindsight, maybe it was a good idea to stay there. But I rented a tiny house, and I was spoiled by the first Airbnb experience, because that one was more expensive than my first one, and it was not nearly as good. It's bare basics, the tiny homes are very bare basics, but he's giving himself a bath. What are you doing, sir? But that's another option if you want to stay in a tiny home. I would not recommend that for more than one, maybe two hikers in there, because it is really small. You just lick my shoulder. Um, but that is another option. The next camping area I had was unmarked. I remember it was literally right on the trail, but it was just this dirt patch with chaparral around it, and it was almost flat. It was a little bit slanted, but I was tired. I was running out of daylight, and I'm like, that's it right there. And I actually slept really well, even though I was on a slant the entire time. But that was a good camp spot. That was after the day that I hit 50 miles, and that was neat. And like I said, between there and Scissors Crossings, which is where you would go to Julian, there's lots of areas to camp. There's also the couple of trailhead areas, and I don't believe there's camping allowed there, like Sunrise Trailhead and Pioneer Mall or Mail Trailhead. Don't believe there's camping allowed, but you can totally stealth camp close to that area, and there's pit toilets near there. And I know that there's water sources there too. So it's, you do what you need to do. Just, if it says no camping, then stealth camp outside in an area where you're not really affecting anything. And always leave no trace. Okay, let's jump ahead to Scissors Crossings. What I mean by Scissors Crossing is basically where two highways meet. I'll hold this up to you. I don't know if it'll focus or not. It's where it meets, like right there. If you can do two places here. If you're not going to camp like under the bridge. You can go to the Stagecoach Trails RV Park. I did not go there, but it has water, apparently has a small store there, has showers, and it's about 4 miles on the PCT on Highway S2. The PCT drops you right there, and if you continue, I believe, this way, it's over here somewhere. I decided to go to Julian, so I walked this way and then crossed the road, and basically the underpass is right here. There's a little river that goes through that's normally dry. There's a water cache there, and sometimes there's trail magic there as well. And Julian, I believe, is 12 miles west of the PCT along Highway 78. And it's this awesome little mountain town. Has a post office, so you can mail stuff there. Has several hotels. Limited capacity, and actually they have little events too, so sometimes those hotels fill up, and there's not a campground in town, unfortunately, but you can still go into town, take care of business, get food, and then go back to the trail. I'll talk more about the grocery stores that they have in town, but I stayed at this historic Gold Rush Hotel in Julian, and actually ended up taking a 0 day also there, which was horrible weather. So I wanted to walk around because it's a great little tourist town too, and I wanted to see some things and go visit the museum. But the weather was so bad. For the most part, I just stayed in the hotel room. I did get out to do more resupply, but it's just, oh man. A lot of people who I was hiking with on and off stayed at the Julian Lodge, and that's another great hotel. There's others in town, but again, very limited space. Julian is known for filling up their hotel capacity quickly. There used to be a trail angel called Carmen that had a restaurant that would let hikers come in and crash on her floor. But she sold her restaurant. That was last year, I want to say. So there's been no one to take her place, and she's left. So if you want to stay in Julian, you have to stay at the hotel. Yeah, it's just the way it is. There might be Airbnbs in town. I didn't see any close, but yeah. But again, check Airbnb or north of the Scissors Crossings. I went to about mile 86, so I forgot how many miles that was, but it's like a saddle in between hills, and it has tons of campsites. Kind of can be windy, but it wasn't the night that I stayed there. And it's dry. There's no water. In fact, there's no water at all in this section until the third gate water cache, and that's another, how many miles up is that? 91. So it's another 5 miles from where I camped, and then you would hit the third gate water cache, which is a steep spur trail down to where there's just pallets and pallets of water that these people maintain for us. And I want to thank those people again. That is such a key area because it's such a long, dry, hot stretch. You really need something there. A lot of people will camp around the third gate because there's several little campsites going down to it. And if those are full, you can actually camp down at the water. It's a little bit more exposed down there and not much shade, but the trail going to and from, it has some shady spots that are really nice. Let's see, what's the next one? The next real major campsite, and again, there's tons of little ones along the way, is Barrel Springs. Barrel Springs has a water source, and it's in this nice shady valley. It's a really nice area and large. There's lots of places to camp. If for some reason you are not feeling well, you're hurt, or you just need something more than just a campsite, there is a little yogi center about a mile east on that highway. I think that's S2. Not sure. Passed it on the map. So, but there's a phone number to call. I would recommend calling to see, because she can only handle like 8 hikers, literally. And she will put you in I was in a bunk room with 3 other people, and you can take a shower there. There's only one shower though, so sometimes there's a wait. You can do laundry there. There's restrooms there, and if you would like, you can also purchase breakfast. She fixes an amazing breakfast. Everything costs like that though. She does charge, I cannot remember the fees. I can't remember the fees exactly. I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna say something like $25 for the night. No, do not scratch that. They're shredding my chair. Breakfast might have been like another $10 or $15, I'm not sure. She has a fridge. Some of the snacks are free, some of the drinks are not. She home makes these teas, and those cost, and like the sodas cost if you wish it, but she has yogurt in there. I know that's free, and she puts signs up so you know how much things are, and you know what things are free and what things are not. Real nice lady, and she'll actually she has some therapy sessions that you can purchase from her too if you need to. That's another option. If you can hold out till you get to Warner is a nice resting area too, and that's the next big camping area. Man, is that big? Warner Springs Resource Center would be after all of this. And that's basically the end of Section A, is Warner Springs. It has, the Resource Center is across from the high school. It kind of uses part of the high school's fields. Has a large camping area for PCT hikers. Has restrooms with flush toilets and running water. Has water. The Resource Center itself has a small resupply. I'll talk more about that later. But it has a nice area for you to hang out in. They have foot massage or Epsom salt soaks too. You can do your laundry there for a very small fee. I think I forgot how much it is. I didn't do it. It's got bucket showers. It has 2 Foot Adventures has one of their trailers there. And so you can, if you're finding that a piece of equipment isn't working right, they likely will have a replacement for it. There's also the Warner Springs Ranch Resort. It's across the street from, there's a restaurant about a mile from the Resource Center. The restaurant's pretty good too. But across the street there is a resort that used to be a hiker vortex. It used to be a really nice resort. It's way past its heyday. It has a new owner, and they're slowly trying to turn it into its former glory, but it's slow going. But they do have some cottages open, so if you want to rent one of them, you can. It's like a little cottage hotel room kind of thing, running water, private bath, and I believe they do have laundries on. They have a laundry room somewhere there too. It's not quite what it used to be. I've heard stories about spas and tennis courts and stuff in the past, but it's not that. They don't have that yet. But you know, it's right across the street from the post office and from the restaurant, which is really handy. And there's a convenience store there too, but I'll talk again more about that later. So that's all I have regarding the camping / places to stay options for Section A. Oh, by the way, with Warner Springs, I did look to see if they had anything through Airbnb, and I didn't see anything like local to Warner Springs. There are houses and places you can rent miles away but that wouldn't work out well for a hiker at all. So it's basically at Warner Springs the resource center to camp, or if you can get one of the cottages. They have several of them open, so you likely can. But resource centers is free. They do request a donation, and they're totally worth it. Please do donate. But it's a lot cheaper than if you were to rent the cottage as well. So let me get my notes ready for the resupply and what I might do differently if I were to re-hike it again for Section A. And I'll get right back to you after I get this cat fed. All right, next day, let's actually go over resupply and food stops in Section A. Right now I'm watching I'm in the middle of watching one of the Restless Kiwis vlog videos. She's a lady from New Zealand, and she's quite the character, but she's hardcore. I kind of discovered her late. She went straight through the Sierra, and she started early, so I'm curious how she did it and what kind of obstacles she hit. That's another vlog to check out if you haven't yet. And I think she has some skills, though. She's been a hiker for a long time. So, anyways, I digress. So I dug up this is Yogi's Pacific Crest Trail book. All the pages have been torn out because I attached them to my paper maps, but I did make little notes in here about where I stopped and other options that are not listed here in just the resupply summary for Section A. Lake Marina is technically the first place you hit along the trail. You could stop at Campo, but literally that's just a mile in, so why? I was not planning on resupplying there. I had packed enough food, so I thought, to make it all the way to Mount Laguna. But my pace was a lot slower than it was, and it's not that I was eating more. I was just taking like an extra day to get to places. So I did stop at the malt shop. It's called Oak Shores Grocery Store, but it's known as the malt shop. It has resupply in there, and of course they have the wonderful malt shop that cooks up these great pizzas and burgers too that you can have. But I did shop there for snacks and like an additional meal that I knew I was missing. There is no place there to mail a resupply, so you would have to purchase there. And it's convenience store prices, so it's a little bit more than a grocery store, as I said earlier, but not terribly so. Then the next major stop along the trail is Mount Laguna. You can mail a package there because there is a post office in town, but there also is a nice store. And I talked to the owner, or one of the owners, and he said he had talked to, I think it was Monty Tam, who, if you're familiar with the PCT, he's like a figure that hiked it in the early days, and him and Monty talked about what hikers like to eat, and that he should really take advantage of that business opportunity because there's so many of us going through. So that's the main store. It's also attached to the lodge that you can get a room there too. They are pricey, I will tell you that. They're more pricey than a convenience store, but you've got variety there. I actually did purchase there. I didn't send anything to myself. I purchased there, but I didn't care. I was just so thankful to be in town and to get some fresh food. I bought enough there to get myself to Julian, more or less. There's also the Pine Tavern Cafe further up by closer to the campground, south of the store, and that has some great food. Obviously, it's not for hiking out with, but if you want a nice hot cooked meal in town, there's a bar in there. I definitely recommend stopping by there. Their hours are just kind of weird sometimes. You have to make sure they're open. The next spot for resupply is one of two places. Once you hit Scissors Crossings, you can go one way on that highway and go to the Stagecoach RV Park. And because I didn't go there, I'm not exactly sure what's there, but according to the book, it says that it has a small convenience store, mostly just snacks, and it's usually open from 9 to 5 every day, which is nice. And there's places to stay there too. And so I know Chantel, one of the hikers I was hiking with for a while, I know she went there. Then of course there's Julian. That's about 12 or 13 miles west from the PCT. Got a hitch there. But there's a lot of good trail angels that will give you rides from the Scissors Crossing area. As I said, there's plenty of places to stay. just as well, just as much. There's plenty of places to eat there. Don't skip Mom's Pie. If you have your permit on you, you can go into Mom's Pies and they will give you a free slice of pie and ice cream and a drink with it too. I didn't know that. And I ended up buying some food there too in addition to that. Great service. There's a cider shop a few doors down that you can buy little snacks and little mixes, but they will give you a free cup of cider if you're a PCT hiker. It's such a cool little town, seriously. There's at least 2 little grocery stores in town. There's Jack's Groceries. That's close. That's right next to Mom's, I believe. Further down the street, on a corner, there's another grocery store, and that one I didn't know about that one. I went to Jack's first and bought most of my resupply, and then later on I went down to this grocery store and I found fuel canisters and a little bit more of a selection, and I'm like, I should have went there because I think they might have been slightly cheaper. They're pretty much the same, but go to both places and look at what they have. There is a post office in town. It's kind of before town when you're coming in from the PCT side, so you could ship something to yourself, but Julian has some good prices, and I would recommend purchasing there. I would do that the same way as I did before. Mount Laguna, it was really pricey, but I probably still would have purchased stuff there just to make it, one less. If you're comparing cost, remember to send a large priority mail package full of food. It costs $20 now. So you have to say, okay, is it cheaper to do that, or is it just cheaper to buy in town and pay like a little bit more prices? I think with Mount Laguna, it's just cheaper to buy in town. So the next stop, and literally that's it, the next stop is Warner Springs Resource Center. Warner Springs, everyone says, oh, send your stuff. And I can understand why if you're trying to just resupply from the Chevron store. That's a very small gas station store with, snacks, and there's not enough there to resupply, honestly. But the Resource Center seems to have expanded their service. They've got a little room within there that has resupply. I bought a couple of things there, usually just drinks or something that I'd forgotten, because I mailed myself a package there. There's a post office on the other side of town next to the cottages and the Chevron station. And that was the cheaper thing for me. So I'm not sure about the prices at the Warner Springs Resource Center. I've heard from other hikers they're a bit much, but I'm sure it was like Mount Laguna. It's like, okay, which one's cheaper? And I decided for that one to mail myself one, which would have worked out great, except that I hit there when they were closed, so I had to I was forced to take a 0-day to wait for my package. In hindsight, if I could have just gotten my stuff and gone, I might have actually made it partially through B before I quit for the season. If I had to do that over again, I would probably try to resupply from the resource center. If I was on schedule, I would have hit there like on a Thursday or Friday, and it would have been fine. I would have been able to get my mailed package. But you're kind of limited by the post office hours if you hit on the weekend, and unfortunately, that's when I hit. There is a restaurant too across from the cottages and right next to the gas station convenience store. And I keep saying Chevron. I don't even know if it was Chevron. I just have that in my head. But that restaurant's really good. Great food of all sorts. Their hours are kind of wonky. I think they're closed on Monday and Tuesdays. At least they were this time. It doesn't even have it listed here. But it's a golf course resort restaurant and has some great food. The Resource Center actually will have food across the street at the high school for like very little money, and it's kind of a fundraiser for the school. And I didn't partake of that because I wasn't around when they did that. But that's another option to eat as well. And according to this book, there is technically a grocery store, but it's 8.8 miles north of Warner Springs Post Office, so you'd have to get a hitch somehow out there. It's called Sunshine Summit Store, but honestly, there's enough options in town where you can just go and get your food for the next stint. Usually people will pack enough to get to Paradise Valley Cafe and then hitch into Idlewild, and zero or get food there and then go back to the Paradise Valley Cafe and continue on. Or some people will actually pack enough to get all the way up to Saddle Junction, where the Devil's Slide Trail switchbacks down to Humber Park, and then you go on into Idlewild from there. I'm not sure how many more days it is, 1, maybe 2. But, gosh, I wish I could tell you more, but again, I only had like 1, 2, 3, 4 major stops for Resupply. But I'm hoping if you're going to hike this in the near future that helps, at least with the first section. I recommend this book, if only just for logistics and planning. And it helps also to have a map of some sort to say, okay, and know your capabilities. How many miles can you hike in a day? And take into account adverse conditions that will slow you down, which is something I didn't do. So I ended up taking an extra day to get to Lake Marina and taking an extra day to get to Mount Laguna. But I was right on schedule between Mount Laguna and Julian, and then right on schedule between Julian and Warner Springs. So things get better. All right, well, I hope that I helped you with your planning, and that's all I have for now. I will see you next time on the next adventure.